Helen had always been the picture of consistency. A retired third-grade teacher from a small town in Pennsylvania, she kept a daily routine so steady you could set your watch by it. Wake up at 7. A bowl of oatmeal with sliced banana. A brisk morning walk around the neighborhood. She never smoked. Rarely drank. Took her blood pressure meds exactly as prescribed. Every holiday, her daughter praised her for staying so healthy in her 70s. But one morning in early spring, that all changed. She had just rounded the corner by the park when she started feeling off. Not dizzy, exactly, but not steady either. Her legs, usually reliable, felt heavy. Her breathing grew shallow. She paused near the bench she usually skipped, unsure. She told herself it was probably the humidity. She'd walked this loop 100 times. She just needed to slow down. Sitting would make her feel like something was wrong, and she didn't want to feel that. Then the world tilted, the sky brightened too fast. The birdsong stretched like a distant echo. Her knees gave way, like she'd missed a step she didn't know was there. When she came to, there were strangers hovering over her. Someone had called an ambulance. Her daughter arrived at the hospital frantic, expecting the worst. But the tests came back strange. No heart attack. No stroke, her heart's fine, the nurse said. Probably just dehydration. Her daughter exhaled and laughed nervously. Told you not to walk so far, Mom? But the cardiologist wasn't smiling. The cardiologist furrowed his brow as he flipped through Helen's chart. Then he circled one word in red pen. Hyponatremia. Low sodium. Critically low. Helen was stunned. She had cut back on salt because she thought that's what you were supposed to do. Her doctor decades ago had warned her about blood pressure. So ever since, she used barely any salt. She bought only low-sodium soups. She stopped adding salt to her eggs. She even rinsed canned beans to get rid of extra sodium. Turns out she'd overcorrected. And she's not alone. Many older adults are walking a dangerous line, unintentionally weakening their hearts not with indulgence, but with restraint. It sounds backwards. But after 65, the rules change. The body processes sodium differently. The kidneys become less efficient at retaining it. Medications can flush it out. Add in well-meaning habits like drinking lots of water and avoiding processed food, and the result is a stealthy deficiency that doesn't show up until the symptoms become serious. That tightness in the chest. That heaviness in the legs. The brain fog. The random fatigue. Many seniors shrug it off as just getting older. But sometimes, it's the heart struggling to pump with too little fluid in the tank. Sodium helps hold onto water. It maintains the volume your blood needs to flow properly. Without it, your blood pressure can drop too low, circulation slows, and the heart works harder to compensate. It's a mistake hidden in plain sight. A daily, quiet choice that feels healthy, but quietly saps strength. Helen learned it the hard way. But her story holds a warning for anyone over 65 who's still clinging to the old idea that less salt is always better. In the next section, we'll break down exactly why this happens, and how to tell if it's already affecting you or someone you love. Because the symptoms often show up long before the collapse. For years, salt has been the enemy. Doctors, commercials, even food labels trained us to think of it as a direct line to high blood pressure and heart disease. For a while, that was partially true. For some people, too much sodium can raise blood pressure. But what no one explained is how that equation shifts dramatically after age 65. The mistake? Cutting out sodium entirely, even when your body actually needs it. Let's get one thing clear. Not everyone needs a low-sodium diet. And yet, many older adults are still living by outdated advice, long after the threat has passed or changed. It's like still avoiding eggs because of cholesterol fears from the 1980s. Nutrition science has moved on, but habits linger. Here's what makes this mistake dangerous for seniors. As we age, our kidneys become less efficient at conserving sodium. This means you can lose sodium faster than you replace it, through urine, sweat, medications, or even just walking. On top of that, many seniors drink plenty of water thinking it helps their heart. But when you flush out sodium without replacing it, your blood becomes too diluted. The result? Your blood volume drops. Your heart has to work harder to push a thinner stream through your arteries. You may not feel it all at once, but the signs are there. Helen had them. So did Robert, a 74-year-old retired mechanic. He noticed his legs ached more during walks. He'd get lightheaded when standing too fast. His doctor said his heart looked fine, but his sodium levels were creeping down. The cause? A combination of blood pressure meds and a strict low-sodium diet he'd never updated. It's a common pattern, and the symptoms are subtle enough to go unnoticed until they suddenly aren't. What does low sodium look like in real life? You feel tired but can't explain why. You're more forgetful than usual, misplacing keys, losing words. Your heart feels jumpy, or your pulse flutters unexpectedly. You get dizzy in the morning or when getting up from a chair. Your muscles cramp more often, especially at night. Many seniors assume these are just normal parts of aging. They're not. They're warnings. That's because sodium isn't just a seasoning, it's an essential electrolyte. It regulates nerve impulses, muscle contractions, and fluid balance. And when levels drop too far, your brain and heart, two organs that depend on stable signals, are the first to struggle. So what's the solution? Not a salt shaker free-for-all, but strategic, mindful sodium intake, the right kind of salt, in the right places with awareness of your personal needs. That's what we'll break down next. Because knowing how and when to add sodium back, safely and effectively, could be the key to stronger circulation, steadier energy, and a more resilient heart. George had always prided himself on staying sharp. 71, former accountant, crossword champ, the guy his neighbors went to for tax advice and trivia night. But lately he'd been struggling. It started subtly, forgetting where he put his glasses, stumbling over common words, feeling foggy by mid-afternoon. His wife thought maybe it was early dementia. George feared the same. But the real clue came in his water habit. George drank constantly. He carried a tall water bottle around the house, refilled it 5 or 6 times a day, sometimes more. He believed he was doing the right thing. Every health article he read emphasized hydration. But the more he drank, the worse he felt. By the time he went to his doctor, his sodium was critically low. Not from a medical condition, but from dilution. This is a common, misunderstood trap. Seniors are often told to drink more water, and for some, that's true. But if you overdo it without replacing electrolytes, you start to flood your system. Your blood becomes too watery, and sodium, which your body needs to maintain fluid balance and nerve signals, becomes diluted. That's when the confusion sets in, or the headaches, or the sudden weakness. Here's why. Sodium helps regulate electrical activity in the body. When levels fall, the brain becomes sluggish. You might feel tired, irritable, disoriented. In extreme cases, it can mimic the early signs of cognitive decline, or cause dangerous swelling in the brain. And your heart? It suffers too. The heart relies on proper sodium levels to maintain its rhythm and contract efficiently. When sodium drops, so does your blood volume. Think of trying to fill a garden hose with a trickle of water. Your heart pumps harder to keep the pressure up, leading to strain, palpitations, and, over time, fatigue. George didn't need a memory pill. He needed electrolytes. Once his doctor adjusted his hydration plan, fewer plain water refills, and more mineral-rich fluids, his symptoms began to fade. He still drinks plenty, but now includes a pinch of Celtic sea salt in his morning tea, and occasionally adds a few drops of trace minerals to his water. This small adjustment made a massive difference. Here's what you can do if you suspect you're overhydrating. Check your urine color. If it's clear all the time, you might be overdoing it. Pale yellow is ideal. Add minerals. A pinch of quality sea salt, a splash of lemon with salt, or an electrolyte powder without sugar can rebalance your system. Eat smarter. Foods like olives, fermented vegetables, and bone broth are naturally rich in sodium and minerals. The goal is balance, not fear. Drinking more water isn't always the answer, especially if it comes at the expense of essential minerals that keep your brain clear and your heart strong. Next, we'll look deeper at how not all salts are created equal, and why your heart might prefer a different kind than what's in the shaker on your table. Helen thought she was doing everything right. After her scare at the park, she brought a notepad to her follow-up appointment, ready to write down exactly what to avoid. But instead of telling her to cut more salt, her doctor surprised her. "Start adding mineral salt to your food again," he said. She blinked, confused. "But I thought salt was bad for your heart." That's when she learned something most people over 65 never hear. Not all sodium is created equal. For decades, the advice has been one size fits all. Cut salt, lower blood pressure, live longer. But the reality is more nuanced, especially as we age. And the type of salt you use makes a bigger difference than you think. Most table salt is just sodium chloride, highly processed, stripped of other minerals, often bleached, and stabilized with anti-caking agents. It spikes your sodium without offering anything else your body needs. But natural mineral salts, like Celtic sea salt or pink Himalayan salt, contain small but crucial amounts of other electrolytes, magnesium, potassium, calcium, and trace minerals. These don't just flavor your food, they help regulate blood pressure, support nerve function, and keep your heart rhythm steady. Helen had been avoiding salt entirely. Her pantry was full of low-sodium everything, canned soups, sauces, crackers. But most of these still contained ultra-processed sodium additives and none of the minerals her body actually needed. Her efforts left her meals bland, her energy low, and her heart under stress. Once she made the switch to intentional, mineral-rich seasoning, her body responded. Her new routine was simple. A light sprinkle of Celtic sea salt on her eggs. A homemade broth with root vegetables and a pinch of sea salt in the afternoon. A mineral-rich electrolyte drink with lemon, salt, and a touch of honey on days when she walked longer than usual. And most importantly, she stopped fearing salt altogether. That's the emotional burden many seniors carry. Years of warnings, guilt, and medical charts that say, "Watch your sodium," in big red letters. But without context, those warnings can backfire, especially when they lead to too little sodium in people who need it most. So what should you look for instead? Celtic sea salt, slightly gray, moist, full of minerals. Pink Himalayan salt, rich in trace minerals, good for everyday use. A low-sodium sea salts blended with potassium, a smart alternative for those needing potassium support. Avoid iodized table salt unless directed otherwise, and steer clear of processed foods with hidden sodium like sodium benzoate or monosodium glutamate, MSG. And if you're craving salt, don't ignore it. That craving is often your body's signal that something's off. For a heart that beats strong and steady, your body needs more than just low numbers. It needs balance, the kind that comes from nutrients working together, not in isolation. Next, we'll look at another invisible threat, how common medications quietly drain your body's mineral reserves, and what you can do to protect yourself. Linda had always been diligent with her pills. Widowed 5 years ago, she took her health seriously. Each morning, she'd line up her medications in a small plastic tray, one for blood pressure, one for cholesterol, one for her mild type 2 diabetes. She washed them down with water and sat by the window to enjoy her tea. But over time, her body began sending quiet warnings. She felt dizzy when standing. Her calves cramped during sleep. She lost her appetite and sometimes felt strangely anxious by mid-morning. The worst day came when she fainted in the kitchen while preparing lunch. Her doctor ran blood work. The culprit? Electrolyte imbalance. Many seniors don't realize that common medications, especially those prescribed for heart and blood pressure, can deplete sodium, potassium, and magnesium levels over time. Diuretics, for example, are often called water pills because they increase urination to lower blood pressure. But they don't just eliminate water, they flush out vital minerals right along with it. Here's the problem. When these electrolytes fall too low, your body starts to falter. Sodium helps maintain blood volume and pressure. Potassium helps control heartbeat. Magnesium keeps muscles and nerves steady. Without them, your heart might race or flutter. Your limbs might feel heavy. Your memory might fog. It's not aging, it's a warning. Linda's story isn't rare. 1 in 3 adults over 65 takes a diuretic. Add in other common drugs like ACE inhibitors, metformin, or some antacids, and you've got a perfect storm of nutrient loss. often without anyone telling you what to watch for. So what can you do? First, don't stop your medications. But do get informed. Ask your doctor for a comprehensive electrolyte panel, not just a basic metabolic test. Many standard labs miss mild to moderate deficiencies that can still cause symptoms. Second, start building your meals around mineral-rich foods that naturally replenish what medications take away. Here are some smart options. A 4-sodium, homemade broth with sea salt, lightly salted avocado toast, pickled vegetables. 4-potassium, cooked spinach, sweet potatoes, beans, and a surprising helper, cream of tartar. Just a 1/4 teaspoon in herbal tea delivers a potassium boost. 4-magnesium, pumpkin seeds, almonds, dark leafy greens, and magnesium glycinate supplements if advised by a professional. Also consider salt alternatives that add potassium chloride instead of sodium, a useful option if you're on strict sodium limits but need to support your electrolyte levels. Linda started small. She added bone broth to her lunch routine and started drinking an evening tea with magnesium and a touch of cream of tartar. Within a few weeks, the cramps eased, her balance improved, and her energy steadied. The heart isn't just a muscle, it's an orchestra, and electrolytes are the conductors. When they fall out of tune, everything sounds off. But with the right nutrients and attention, harmony can return. In our final section, we'll bring it all together. The small daily habits that build a resilient heart, a clear mind, and a steady body. Simple shifts that can change the next 10 years of your life. Helen still walks the same neighborhood loop every morning. But now, she does it differently. There's a small thermos of warm bone broth in her tote bag. A sprinkle of sea salt on her breakfast eggs. A pinch of mineral drops in her afternoon water. No more collapsing. No more foggy fatigue. Just steady steps and a steadier heart. Because the truth is, it wasn't just one thing that threw her off. It was a dozen tiny daily decisions she didn't realize mattered. And that's what most people miss. After 65, health doesn't fall apart from a single blow. It frays at the edges. A little too much water here. A little too little salt there. A medication that slowly drains minerals. A meal routine that never adapts. But just like it frays, it can also be rewoven. Here's what a heart-supporting, mineral-balanced daily routine can look like for someone in their 60s, 70s, or beyond. 1. Start the day with a mineral wake-up. Before your coffee or tea, drink a cup of warm water with a pinch of sea salt and a squeeze of lemon. This gently rehydrates your body after sleep and restores electrolytes without overloading your system. 2. Choose meals that nourish, not just avoid. Forget low-sodium labels. Focus instead on real, whole foods with natural minerals. Cooked greens, beets, lentils, fish, and a bit of salt from a quality source. Roasted vegetables with olive oil and sea salt beet processed, low-sodium options every time. 3. Space your hydration. Don't flood. Instead of drinking a full glass of water at once, sip throughout the day. Add mineral drops, or alternate with broth or herbal tea enriched with magnesium or potassium when needed. 4. Watch your medications and balance them with food. If you take diuretics or blood pressure pills, plan to include extra potassium and magnesium. That might mean a baked sweet potato with dinner or pumpkin seeds as an afternoon snack. A few small changes can shield your heart from the slow drain. 5. Monitor your symptoms like a detective. Are you more tired than usual? Feeling lightheaded when you stand? Cramping at night? Forgetting words you used to grab easily? These are not just aging. These are clues. None of this requires a radical diet or a stack of supplements. It's about shifting your routine from one of fear of salt, fear of fat, fear of numbers, to one of support. Listening to what your body needs now, not what it needed 20 years ago. Helen still keeps her notebook, but now it's filled with recipes and reminders, not restrictions. George keeps his water bottle, but with sea salt and lemon. Linda still takes her medications, but balances them with mineral-rich meals that work for her body, not against it. Because aging smart doesn't mean avoiding everything. It means knowing what to restore, when to listen, and how to support the heart that's been carrying you for decades. It's not too late to adjust. It's not too late to strengthen. And sometimes, All it takes is circling one overlooked word and rewriting the next chapter. Please share your thoughts in the comments if you've experienced something like this. Your story could help someone else realize they're not alone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notified when our next video goes live.